when I was redesigning the leech, I wondered whether those 4 auto-turrets might not be a bit of an overkill for a base that's basically a 2x1. At the same time, 2 auto-turrets would not have covered all angles. The perfect configuration would have been 3 turrets, as they can be placed to cover all angles and be maintained from a single generator, allowing for a dead simple electrical setup. I realized that a footprint which would work well with 3 auto-turrets is the core of the original frustrator, having its turrets located on those tips. I tried different configurations on the inside to see whether I can match the leech's storage efficiency, but I realized that I would have to use the outer triangles for that. And this would leave the core protected by only one wall unless there was another layer of honeycomb, which then would have recreated the original frustrator. I was stuck with this issue until I stumbled across the Joker by Papa Percocet. He used roof ramps on the bottom attached to the foundations for the honeycomb to create a beautiful group base. That approach perfectly worked with this much smaller footprint and created a honeycomb that was cheap and left the triangles for the auto turrets exposed. The second floor could be the living space and the bottom floor the vault in which the main loot is stored. Usually I leave the outer bits of my bases stone to make the base appear less rich and make you less of a target. With 3 auto turrets, however, why not just go all in and make the whole base out of sheet metal? The result is a fantastic looking design, which is a tribute to Papa Percocet's Joker, but only half the size and cost. The Raptor. It took quite a while to go from the initial idea to the final build. In particular, it was challenging to find a hard-to-raid configuration for the loot rooms. The cheapest raid to the TC will cost 26 rockets, though 31 are more likely. To raid the TC in both main loot rooms, raiders need to invest a minimum of 40 rockets. A realistic full raid therefore easily costs 40 plus rockets. Thanks to the 3 external TCs, griefing the base requires a minimum of 50 rockets. At the same time, I made sure that the base has everything you need for a full wipe. A step-by-step build order that allows you to use the core as starter unit, 2 main loot rooms with a storage equivalent of 16 large boxes, which are connected by a relatively open core with a tier 3 workbench, and which can be sealed by a working stability bunker against door raiding. 3 auto turrets that cover all angles around the base, a second floor corridor for your overflow items, and roof access with an optional Minicopter hangar. One really beautiful property of this footprint is that those slanted roofs of the honeycomb can optionally be maintained from the external TCs. Unfortunately, since the base is rather small, the effect on the daily upkeep is limited. On to the tour. As you can see, there's hardly any spot where the auto turrets cannot see you, and the slanted roofs never block their line of sight. The entrance is behind one of the auto turrets. This has the nice side effect that as long as the auto turret pods are closed, it is not obvious where the main door is located. Shotgun traps guard the entrance in case something happens to the auto turret. To the right, we can jump up to the Minicopter hangar. It doubles as a secondary spawn room and roof access. You can bag your allies here in case you need urgent assistance. Since the configuration of the entrance door does not really block door campers from running in, I had to find a new way of protecting against wannabe beat shields for the time that the auto turrets are not active yet. To exit the base, you simply run over the pressure pad. The door will open, but automatically close immediately. This gives door campers just a moment to go deep, which is not enough time to deal with the shotgun traps. Likewise, if you come back inside of the base, simply run over the pressure pad to lock the door behind you. I have used this new technique 2 more times, for the jump up to the roof and for the outer door of the Minicopter hangar. The corridor can be used for utility items. If we follow it all the way around the central column, we arrive at the sealed chute. To unseal the base, spawn inside the core, locate the twig triangle and destroy it. Since the roof is no longer held up by any building block, it collapses as well. The chute itself is protected by reinforced glass windows. The idea is that those window frames help to protect the core from splash damage, which increases the difficulty to raid the base. Behind these windows we find one of the main loot rooms. Going through the other window we find the main spawn point of the core. Those switches turn the turrets on and off. Those switches open and close the auto turret pods. Instead of a large battery, we use a series of small batteries. While initially this was meant as a fallback because I did not find a good spot for the large battery, it turns out that small batteries are insanely space efficient. Behind the window we find the second main loot room. Around the corner we have the TC tucked away in the safest spot of the base. Again, we use vertical embrasures to increase the protection from incendiary rockets. Let's jump into the build. Once you located the land where you want to build, verify that the following footprint can be placed. You may recognize it from the original frustrator. Place a TC onto the center triangle, close to the forward left corner. And close it off with a window frame. If you don't have yet reinforced glass window, use wooden window bars and quickly continue with the starter unit. Upgrade the square and those two triangles. On the second triangle, build 2 half walls instead of a full wall. Don't forget that or you won't be able to stability seal the base. Close the rest off with walls and 2 double doors. Use the square for starter items. Use the first metal fragments to upgrade the double doors to sheet metal. Upgrade all inner foundations apart from this square and surround them with walls. Above this triangle, build a chute. Remember that if you have trouble to jump out of that chute, open console with F1 and type auto crouch true. The rest of the ceiling can be closed off. Extend the chute by 1 square and add another double door for an airlock. Make sure that there's a window towards the outside of the base. To get in and out of the base, locate this square behind the chute and place a triangle floor going out from it. Then locate this outer square, upgrade it and place a roof onto it. Then continue with the ground floor. Before you upgrade that last square foundation inside of the core, you have to upgrade the foundation below the TC to armored, and you most likely cannot reach it from anywhere else anymore. Once you spend the 13 high quality metal for the upgrade, you can replace the square foundation and upgrade it to stone. In the rear triangles, attach 2 floor tiles at half height and upgrade them to wood. This will later allow us to build and rebuild the loot rooms without trouble. Deploy more items around the base wherever they fit. My recommendation would be to use the space in front of the chute for sleeping bags and the tier 1 workbench. Furnaces go left and right of it. If you happen to find a shotgun trap, use it to guard the chute. Use the other 2 squares for boxes, but leave some space so that later you can reach and upgrade all walls, foundations and ceilings. Next, let's close off the second floor and create a better airlock. Place 3 wall frames onto the triangle and add double doors. Place another window next to the remaining square. Surround the rest with full walls. Close off the ceiling with the exception of that last triangle next to the entrance. If you want roof access, build a jump up to the roof here. Use only half walls for the bit on top of the roof. Attach the doors to the triangle at half height. Until you have a garage door, you won't be able to enter the roof from here. To make the use of the main exit a bit safer, add a sheet metal door opposite of the roof entrance. If this door and the outer door are left open, they allow you to check for door campers, but they won't be able to go deep. This square is also a great spot for another shotgun trap, in case you stumble upon another one. Locate the central column. Upgrade the floor tile to armored for 7 high qual. Then attach a sheet metal triangle at half height and close it off. As last activity of this phase of the build, we will create the outer honeycomb. Create and complete 3 auto turret pods. Upgrade their foundations to sheet metal before placing any wall. Then upgrade the remaining foundations to stone. Start at one of the sides and place roofs onto the foundations. Place walls onto the side of the squares. The last roof piece is best placed from the outer turret pod up here. At the exit, start with the middle roof piece and place both outer ones from the turret pods. At this stage, the base has already its futuristic look and it's already 2 walls to the core from all sides. In the second build phase, we will upgrade the base to its final tier. Most importantly, ensure that the TC is protected by a reinforced glass window and a vertical embrasure. Replace all double doors with garage doors. Feel free to use the spare double doors for the auto-turret pods for now. Use a ladder for the chute. Here is what you need to upgrade to armored. The TC compartment, the square foundation next to it and its 2 walls, the adjacent triangle foundation and the wall, and the whole ceiling of the core. Everything else in the core gets upgraded to sheet metal, apart from the 2 wooden triangles and the floor tile in front of the last square. Don't forget to upgrade the chute. Locate the rear triangle with the 2 wooden half-height triangles and place 2 sheet metal walls. At this point, it becomes effective to seal the base with the roof seal. Next, let's build the loot rooms. Clear out the space and start by placing a barbecue pretty much in the center of the foundations. 2 large boxes should fit left and right. Round it off with 3 small boxes. The upper half will be built the same way. Use a twig triangle to make the placement easier. With 2 large and at least 5 small boxes per level, each level provides as much storage as a traditional 4-box loot room. Note that on the second level you can even squeeze in 2 more barbecues. Once you're done, use a window frame and a reinforced glass window to seal the loot room off. Run over to the square in front of the TC and do the same thing. What is very important here is that the boxes on the right are placed as far forward as possible so that they remain accessible later on. Make sure that everything is upgraded and that you can reach the TC before you place and upgrade the window frame. Next, we need to find a solution for the Tier 2 workbench. I did not want to set it up on the second floor because it would allow raiders to easily soft side pick bits of the base before having to breach the core. The core itself provides little convenient space for it. The best solution would be if you had a Tier 2 workbench and a starter and simply skip to the Tier 3 workbench for this base. However, for the case that this is not possible, we left 1 foundation in the core stone. Place the Tier 2 workbench here and close the triangle off with another window. This makes accessing the adjacent loot room very inconvenient. My suggestion would be to rush the Tier 3. Destroy the Tier 1 workbench with a hatchet. Place a window frame towards the chute. Equip the Tier 3 workbench and rotate it with the R key. Then place it as far back and as far to the right as you can. Rotate it back after it's placed. In front of it, place either a bed or sleeping bags and a box to crouch through the window frame. Test whether you can still place the stability seal. If you have trouble doing that, verify that the second floor is empty and remove things like shotgun traps from the ceiling. If you were not able to skip the Tier 2 workbench, you can now start the painful process of soft side picking out the foundation. The workbench breaks when the foundation breaks. Replace the foundation with a sheet metal foundation. Place 2 small boxes into the triangle to make crouching through the window frames easier. A shotgun trap guarding the chute can go into this corner in front of the loot room. Another shotgun trap can go above the bed, but it has to be very close to the window frame or it will block the placement of the stability seal. Finally, place a locker as far back into the corner as possible. Check whether you can still reach all the boxes. If you place them far enough forwards, as I recommended, this should all be possible. This concludes the design of the core. We can now turn our attention to the second floor. Optionally, section of the core with garage doors. This can help tremendously in an online raid, but it also increases the metal fragment upkeep cost. Since the core no longer provides space for furnaces, I recommend to run them around the core of the column. Just remember to leave enough space in front of the chute or the roof seal won't place. Bit by bit, upgrade every wall in the core to sheet metal. When you upgrade the core column, make sure to rotate the wall so that the hard side is facing outwards. Climb onto the roof and upgrade every missing bit to sheet metal. Next, let's upgrade the auto turret pods, including the wall frames, and make sure that they are covered by garage doors. In case you are the proud owner of an armored double door, use it to protect the entrance. Otherwise, make sure that the roller of the garage door points outwards so that you can close the outer garage door from the inside of the base. Since the entrance of the base does not work as an airlock, let's use a brand new, never seen before trick. All you need is a door controller and a pressure pad. Link the door controller to the door. Place the pressure pad somewhere close to the door where you not necessarily have to step onto it. Then connect it to the door. The idea is very simple. If you want to leave the base, run over the pressure pad. The door opens briefly and automatically closes, giving door campers little time to go deep. And when you come back, quickly run over the pressure pad and the door will close behind you automatically. If you're very good at jumping, you can do the same thing with the roof access. Place a pressure pad underneath the jump pad and connect it to the door controller that is paired with the roof exit. If you don't make mistakes while jumping, you will be on the roof just before the door closes behind you. If you place another shotgun trap guarding the chute, it will be virtually impossible for door campers to go deep. And if you left the roof exit open, you can quickly step onto the pressure pad to close it remotely. Until now, we haven't touched the roof too much. Sure, you can land a minicopter there, but it's too easy to steal. Thus, let's build the hangar next. Start by going around the roof and attaching a triangle to every side of the roof. This prevents other players from head jumping onto the roof, and it gives you nice peek downs against door campers. Use concrete barricades as shown to provide a bit of cover fire from further away. Leave only this side empty. Here we're going to build the landing pad for the minicopter. If you have the Christmas lights, use it to mark the landing pad in case of a nighttime return. As long as the roof stays open like this, you can even land the scrap helicopter here. In case you want to have the minicopter hangar and roof spawn point, place a garage door towards the landing pad and surround the inner square with walls. Add 2 more garage doors towards the squares on the sides. On the side with the roof, I would add a locker and sleeping bags. On the other side you can even fit a locker and a bed. Here we're going to use the door opener trick again. Place a pressure pad into this corner and connect it to a door controller that is paired with the outer door. When you land with the minicopter, open the garage door manually. Drive forward onto the pressure pad to close the garage door behind you. Then park as far backwards as you can. You might have to open the garage door on the sides to be able to exit. Hold down the Alt key to look at the doors. To take off, close both inner garage doors and mount the minicopter. Drive forward onto the pressure pad to open the outer garage door. Then reverse onto the landing pad and take off. The hangar will close automatically. I recommend to add 2 shotgun traps to prevent door campers from going deep easily. If you're using the pressure pad to exit the base, they won't have enough time to shoot them out. This concludes the 3rd phase of the build. Since the base heavily relies on reinforced glass windows, external TCs are crucial. The easiest way is the following. Locate the center of the honeycomb, place 3 triangles and remove the middle one. Then build 4 squares out, ideally with foundation steps. On the end, build a large triangle, place the TC onto the tip and close it off with sheet metal walls and a window frame. To ensure 8 rockets worth of protection, add a garage door and a sheet metal door and surround the rest with stone walls. You can use the space behind the garage door for a locker and 2 sleeping bags, which can be useful for a counter raid. I would recommend to build 3 of these in total. Further, I would recommend to place 3 additional external TCs between the gaps of the existing 3. You may have wondered why I have not upgraded the roofs yet. With the roofs being stone, the metal fragment upkeep is still below 3k. The upgrade will increase the daily upkeep by about 1k frags. If you're running this base solo or you struggle farming that many metal fragments, leave the honeycomb stone. The ideal raid would then cost 23 rockets to TC and 35 rockets for a full raid. Protection and upkeep wise, this would make it comparable to the Valkyrie. If you decide to go for the more luxurious version, go ahead and upgrade all the roofs and foundations below them to sheet metal. To be fair, the added cost might be worth it simply because of the aesthetics. As mentioned in the introduction, there's also an alternative option, which is to upkeep the roof honeycomb from the external TCs. Unfortunately, since the base is not too big, that does not save too much upkeep. But since it is a really interesting concept, I wanted to share it with you anyway. Like before, build those 3 triangles. Unlike before, build out 8 squares. Delete everything except for the outer twig foundation and come back with 4 half moons. Then build those 2 triangles and upgrade them to sheet metal. After you have removed the twig, the build steps are the same as for the normal TCs. The only difference is that now those triangles are slightly offset and no longer touching the foundations of the main base. To have the roof honeycomb upkept externally, you either need to wait with building the honeycomb, or you need to take out the stone of the TC and wait for 5 hours until it decays. Just make sure that the rest of the stone building blocks don't decay. Either upgrade them to sheet metal or repair them. Next, we place foundations from the end of the arm of the external TC, so that in the center there are 3 triangles flanked by a square and another 2 triangles on each side. Now place the roofs from left to right. The last one need to be placed from the auto turret pod. Anyway, this is probably too tedious in most cases, but feel free to try it out. This also creates empty space behind the roofs. My intuition is that something sneaky could be done with this empty space. Let me know if you have any great ideas. In the last phase of the build, we're going to add the electrical circuit. The base contains another innovation that you haven't seen elsewhere yet. The issue I was facing is that I could not find space for a medium or large battery without sacrificing protection. Then I realized that small batteries are so space efficient that one can cram a lot of them into a single half-height triangle space, or distribute them across the base to not have a single point of failure. We use this insight to run 3 auto turrets. Place 1 auto turret inside of each of the auto turret pods. One pro tip, mark each of the auto turrets with a color. That makes it so much easier to reference the turrets later on. In the core between the locker and the tier 3 workbench, distribute a row of 4 small batteries along the wall. Climb onto the roof and place 1 solar panel for each of the batteries. Then connect each solar panel directly into one of the small batteries. Combine the output of the 4 small batteries with 3 root combiners. Place a small generator between the batteries and the workbench. Join its output with the combined output of the 4 batteries. Run the output into a splitter and run its output into 3 switches. Again, make sure that the switches do not interfere with the roof seal. Now place an auto turret onto each of the turret pods and connect them with one of the switches. Place a small wooden sign and indicate which switch connects to which turret via its color. You can leave it at that or add another circuit to remote control the auto turret pods from within the safety of the core. To do that, place 2 additional small batteries. Climb onto the roof, place 2 more solar panels and connect them to those batteries. Combine the output of the batteries and run it into a splitter. Run the splitter into 3 switches, 1 for each turret pod. Place another small wooden sign above them and match the color pattern to the auto turret switches. For each auto turret pod, place a splitter and run its output into 2 door controllers. Pair each door controller with one of the garage doors. Then run the input of the splitter into the switch with the corresponding color. For the main entrance, have the splitter next to the exit. And voila, you're now remotely controlling the auto turret pods. There are of course more options for electricity. As before, you could add another generator as backup for those garage doors. Or you could place another auto turret next to the bed here to guard the hangar door. With all those solar panels on the roof, you might want to upgrade the ceiling to sheet metal to discourage raiders to destroy the floor tiles. And voila, that's the Raptor done. And isn't she a beauty? Remember, there are always lots of options to make the base your own. Skip the Minicopter hangar if you don't need it and if you prefer the simple aesthetics of the 2-story build. Add a whole shooting floor onto the roof and take heli from there. Or turn the external TCs into turret-rigged flanking bases. Whatever you decide, may the base bring you safely through the wipe. Until then, Evil Wurst out.